Martin, at St James's Park it was a resilient performance, could have won the game with a couple of chances in the first half. How disappointing to concede in the 93rd minute?
We were gutted because we did well. Of course, we should have done a bit more the second half, and that is why I made that substitutions, because I still wanted to do something. Of course, Eno, that was forced upon us because Eno did something with his ankle, so he had to come off. Frimpong came on, but the second half I put another striker on with Hugo, and straight after that he had 2 chances, and you always hope and pray that he will score these goals, and then everything would have been fine. But now it turned a bit against us, and yeah, they scored in the 93rd minute. So to come and play that game in Newcastle against them in this stadium for over 50,000 people, a draw would have been okay. But we still feel and we did it at Spurs and we did it at Wigan, we did it a couple of times. If you don't concede and score a goal, you can always have 3 points. But 7 or 8 times we had a draw, a couple of times we had a win. We should have done better, but I think we did better. But that is why it was very disappointing to get nothing out of this game, because we would have had 40 points, first target. Managed to do that and then go on and try to get 50 points.
When the team sheet first came out before the game, a lot of people would have been very interested in your selections playing Manolev and Eno together. Can you tell us a little bit about your thought process behind that selection?
No, of course, I've got Damien Duff, who can play on the right and he can play on the left. I think Damien on the right is a handful. On the left, he's of course a left footer, so he works hard for the team. He had 6 or 7 assists, he scored 4 goals, so he was quite productive. Then De Jager came in, he settled in. He was probably our best player over the last 2 or 3 matches. He was important, created penalties, had a couple of assists, played very well at home as well. So, but then he was injured, so we had to change it again. I didn't want to change the lot because Berbatov scored 4 goals for the first time in his career in 4 matches, and of course he wanted to score the 5th as well. And so if I changed it, I had to play Hugo up front, Berbatov in the hole, and then Brian Ruiz on the right, for example. I didn't want to change it, so it was only about one player, and the choice was about Fry, Urbi and Manolev. Manolev plays in his national team on the flank, not as a fullback, and he was man of the match twice and scored 2 or 3 goals, so he can play there. He tells me that he's a flank player all the time, not a fullback but a flank player. Of course he can play fullback because that is what he did against Norwich, but I had the choice and I made a decision to play Manolev, and I think the first half, particularly first half, he did well. Second half there was not a lot happening there, and that is why I changed it. And Brian played, had a few good passes, who should have scored. And that is the thinking behind playing Manolev.
Eno, I know, is going to have a late fitness test because he's still suffering a little bit from that injury. But the disappointing news of the day is that Aston De Jager, who had been doing so well for you, is now out for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, that was a big blow because first we thought it was not that bad, and now it turns out to be a rupture, and he needs surgery. So he will be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks, so I don't think he will play this season. And with Eno, for example, Eno played his first match from the start against Newcastle, and I thought in hindsight was the right decision because he's a good player, and he was a good combination with Giorgio, but I had to take him off and then put Frimpong on, and of course he's a young player and he hasn't got the experience of Eno. But hopefully, Eno, we will make an assessment tomorrow, and hopefully he can join us to go there at Aston Villa, and then we have to make a decision on the team, and hopefully we can give him a real game, because I still feel that, of course, they're on a good run and they're a good team, especially at home. They had good results, but I still feel that we need another 3 points.
And with hindsight, you can talk about the players that you brought in at the end of January. They've all actually now started to feature towards the end of the season. So good business, you could argue.
No, I think it's always the same. You can better have more players than less players. And we didn't have enough players, if you think about the Diarra situation. Chrissy Beard, of course, can play in midfield, but he's more like a defender. We had a little problem in midfield, and especially when Sitwell is not there. And Sitwell wasn't there a couple of times. Sitwell was suspended now for 3 games, so I had to change it again. So in hindsight, I think we proved to be right to get some players in. But how difficult is it for foreign players to come in and settle right away? It's not easy, and you saw it a couple of times. So Orby, hopefully our fans will see the real Orby, Wilson, because he's such a skillful player. But you know, to come from Italy or Holland or whatever to England is totally different kettle of fish, and he realizes that. But he's got one thing on his mind: he wants to prove himself. Eno wants to prove himself. Frimpong, who is very young, wants to prove himself. Manolev can't wait to play, you know, and I have to tell them that there's a problem because Sasha Rita did ever so well. And that is why they probably tell me, Manolev probably tells me that he can play on the flank because they want to play for Fulham, you know, that is for sure. And that is the eagerness and the hunger we want. And that is what they show us. So I think in hindsight it lifted the training as well. And we've got, of course, more players to choose from. But who cares, you know? For me it's important that they want to play. I have to disappoint them sometimes. Manolev was not even in the squad and he played very well against Norwich. So that is a situation, but I think if you want to be a good squad, good club, you need maybe 20 or more players.
And travelling to Aston Villa, obviously they're on the back of a good run now and they are still fighting for those extra points to give them Premier League survival. How much does that come into your thinking, or is it about making sure that we continue the run that we've been on, the Newcastle result aside, and the performances away from home, which have been very good?
Of course, at the end of the season we will see if it is enough, but I feel to be at 39 points in the first week of April is very good, you know, because I think it's a long time ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that Fulham did the same. It was always a struggle until the end. I can remember a couple of years ago that there were 3 points from the bottom and they still finished 8, you know. So it's about a good run, and that is why it was so disappointing that we couldn't get the 3 points against Newcastle, because it finished and it interrupted that good run, and now we have to start again. So we have to start again against Aston Villa, and we realize that. And we realize as well that we are 39 points and Aston Villa is fighting for their lives, so that is maybe different for them. But we still feel that we owe it to our fans and we owe it to ourselves, because I still feel, as I said before, that we need 1 or more points to try to get as high as possible after that.
We wish you luck on Saturday.
Okay, thank you.